So originally I was from South Africa, Kwazulu, Natal, Durban. We left on the 25th of September 2008 to arrive here in Australia. So back then it was just me and my two boys. It's still just me and my two boys. So there's no other family in Australia per se, just friends. So when I spoke to my son in 2000, I said to him, we need to leave. And I'm thinking of Australia for a better future for Trevor, because Trevor was the only one born at that time.
I'm Dr. Chamonix Blanche, ex-corporate and academical, turned CEO and board member of several companies and mother of 4 little extraordinary kids. But it wasn't that long ago that I lacked the confidence, the know-how, and the time to focus on designing and really going after the life that I so wanted to live. A life of freedom, of fairness, and of being fair dinkum to who I really was and what I wanted to get out of this fleeting time that we have on Mother Earth. Fast forward to many lessons learned and moving halfway around the world to the most amazing country, you'll see the life that I now live. One that gives me more safety and freedom than I ever thought would be possible, and that really only existed as a daydream while I was living in South Africa. I created Chamonix TV to give you true spot advice on how you can also live a life in this amazing country, and so that you can see how another couple like us now live in Australia with 4 little kids hearing down under. And I'll be providing you with step-by-step strategies so that you can make your Aussie dream a reality too. If you're a keen future Aussie who's looking to create a life that excites you and offers you safety, freedom, and opportunity, you have come to the right place, my friend. Welcome aboard.
Hi, Ursula. Thank you so much for joining us today, all the way from far away in Newman. How are you?
Hi there, I'm very well. Thank you for inviting me on your channel today. I appreciate it.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Yes, give us a little bit of a background.
Sure, no problem. So originally I was from South Africa, Kwazulu, Natal, Durban. We left on the 25th of September 2008 to arrive here in Australia. So back then it was just me and my two boys. It's still just me and my two boys. So there's no other family in Australia per se, just friends that I went to school with from when I was 11 years of age. So over the years, quite a number of my friends, school friends, have immigrated, and they're in different parts of Perth when I was living in Perth. So the backstory, because I'm now in Newman, but let me not jump ahead of myself. So the backstory was, I arrived in Perth on the 26th of September 2008 at 12:35 in the morning at the airport. I remember that day.
Gosh, you remember it well, yeah.
Yep.
You and your two boys and your husband at the same flight?
Yes. So my name's Ursula Smit. My husband's Marcel Smit, and I have 2 sons, Trevor and Xavier. So Xavier's 20 years of age, just turned 20 on the 6th of April, and then Trevor will be turning 23 on the 1st of September. Mm-hmm. So at that time, they were 10 and 7 when we arrived in Perth. Yeah.
Ooh, brave mama.
Very. First 2 years was challenging, but I'm sure we'll get into that story as we go along. If you ask me what was my decision from leaving Perth to come here, last year, to 2020, none of us will forget COVID-19. What will we know? Anyway, so last year what happened was my husband was asked to work full-time for BHP because he had been there already about a year for BHP, okay, a while back. And then they asked him if he wanted to have a permanent shirt. So he got a permanent job, but that meant he could no longer do FIFO, which means fly in, fly out, which we'll talk about later. Anyway, he arrived here he decided to stay here. He asked me, I said, go for it. So I sold our house back in Perth and arrived here on the 11th of September, 2020 with my 2 boys. I unpacked our bags, put it in the transitional house that we were living in at that time until they gave us our permanent house. And I went straight through to programmed recruiting and asked them if they got any jobs in the mines. Handed in my resume, I had my USB ready and everything, and within a month, because it takes a bit of time for paperwork and documentation and approvals to be made, But a month later, I was working at BHP.
Gosh, and did it feel to you like you were moving countries all together again? Because
Yes, it
just
did.
for our viewers, Newman is how long is the flight, Ursula, from Perth?
Oh my gosh, it's an hour and 50 minutes, but it's like, I think 1,000, just under 1,400 kilometers from Perth.
I think it's further away from like
Okay.
Cape Town and Joburg. It's
Yes.
further apart that Cape Town and Joburg is Newman from Perth. So it's far away and it's in the middle of nowhere.
Nowhere.
Essentially.
You are so, it is correct. Yeah, it's a desert. So it's a little mining town, and majority of the houses are owned by BHP. So we live in a house that's owned by them. So yeah, what's great about BHP, what I love about BHP, actually, it's a great company to work for. And what I love about them is when you stay local as a resident, when I say local, because you get locals, which are the Aboriginal people, the Māori and the New Billy, okay, and then you get residents, the local residents, which is us. So you get free rent and free electricity and water, so it's great.
That's great. Okay, so you got there in September last year.
Yes.
And so you've been there about 6 months.
That's correct, yes.
And your two boys, what are they doing? Are they working?
Oh my word, let me tell you about them, Chamonix. So it was life-changing for them. So when we were in Perth, they were battling to find jobs because they'd never had jobs. I was the type of mother that told them they must stay at home, get an education, go to uni and the whole lot. Then we decided to come here. But I said to them they had to find a job there first before I would allow them to stay there. And they couldn't find jobs. So they said, okay, we're going to come up with you and stay here for 2 years and then go back to Perth to go study at Curtin University. I don't know if I was supposed to mention Curtin University, but anyway, that's where Chamonix and I met. So,
absolutely. We'll go into that in a second.
So what happened was they came here, and on the second day here, Xavier, on his first day here, got a job. He was offered a job. So he started the first day. And that's what's funny about a small town compared to a city where we come from Perth, okay? In a small town, there's lots of jobs going. Can you believe it? Lots of jobs. There's an abundance of jobs. Whereas in the city, you've got to apply, and it takes a while before you find a job if you're not experienced in different, like in hospitality or whatever it is, okay?
Yeah.
So over here, people are willing to give you a go as long as you're hardworking. They give you a go. So Xavier is now on his fourth job. He works for Perth Airport as the luggage carrier. So he's doing that for now. Yeah, earning a salary. So now he's got his own money, which is great, especially for a 20-year-old. And then Trevor works at the Dome Cafe. So the Dome Cafe for South Africans in South Africa that watch this is similar to Mug and Bean. Very similar.
Very nice. Yeah.
Beautiful. So
I didn't even know Newman had a dome. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
But they haven't got much, okay? So
doesn't matter. It's a dome. It's coffee. It's good.
It's true. So it's not like in Perth where you've got everything at your disposal over here. It's like a sleepy hollow town. So there's not much, but I love it.
And it all revolves around the mine.
That's all that it revolves around. That is correct. So you will have the places that we do have here is like the Dome, Chicken Treat, Subway. Those would have been invited by the mines to come to this town, okay? Because then most of us would go there and support those franchises.
So how many people more or less in the town, do you know?
They say 10,000. They say 10,000. I think a little bit less than 10,000. Why I say that, and I'm just generalizing at this point, but why I say that is because there's people leaving and people coming all the time, okay? And the reason why I think that a few of the people leave to go back to Perth and do FIFO if they're able to is because of their children to go to like a private school. There's no private school as a public school. And that's what I think. So when their children finish grade, say 7, okay, and then they go back to Perth.
Okay, so there's no high school.
There is a high school. But I think people prefer the high schools in Perth.
Okay.
I'm assuming. I can't judge the high school here, okay? But there's got to be a reason why people are going to private schools in Perth, and that's what they do. So you see lots of movement all the time of people in,
which
out.
Which means Xavier is very busy because he's at the airport moving the luggage in and out all the time.
That's correct.
Now,
Absolutely.
Ursula, You mentioned earlier where you and I met, which was through Curtin University, because we both worked there essentially. Can you give us a background of what you did in South Africa for a job, if you worked there, and then how that transition into Australia worked for you? And you came on, was it on your visa or on Marcel's visa?
So initially what happened, I was the insurgent. I pushed my husband to come to Australia. He didn't want to come to Australia. Sorry, I'll just put this on silent. I apologize. I apologize.
Okay.
Oh, dear. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Switch that off.
It's life. That's what happens.
So what happened was, when we arrived in 2008, the backstory was I had to use Marcel's trade to get here. So he was a mechanical fitter, heavy diesel fitter in South Africa. He owned a forklift company, like a materials handling company, not just forklifts. It could be scissors lifts, it could be trucks, whatever it was, the buckies, which are roots here in Australia, as we know. So he owned a business there called Marcorp Forklift.
In Durban?
In Durban, yes. It was in Jacobs. And he had that for over 14, could be 18 years. It's so long ago, I can't remember. So call me a liar, but let's say 18 years.
Yeah.
I worked for him. So I was like, he would call me like the operations manager and oversaw everything, would go see the customers, would bring in work and all of that type of thing. But in 2000, I could see, in 2000, the year 2000, I could see the tide was turning for us, especially for business owners. And I just said to myself, we need to consider leaving so that our children will have a better future somewhere else. And I said, and I'm thinking of Australia. So people say to me, why did you pick Australia? Well, let me tell you a story. When I was 7 years old, my dad was a fitter and turner, and he came home with this, it's like a sackcloth. And he came home with the sackcloth that had wood at the top and wood at the bottom, and it had that once a jolly swagman, Campa, the Bellabong, that one. So it had this whole story. So it had this whole story about that. And my father put it in the lounge on the wall. And he said to me, we're going to Australia. We're going to go to Australia because I can get lots of work there. But the difference was my father never pushed himself to get there, okay? Because it was very different for people of that era as well. So they were very ingrained in their country and they worked over there. So it never happened, okay? If I was older, I would have pushed, but I was still only 7. Yeah, I think 7. Anyway, that stayed on my dad's wall for years. So I always saw that, and I always remember him saying he was going to go to Australia. So when I spoke to my son in 2000, I said to him, we need to leave, and I'm thinking of Australia for a better future for Trevor, because Trevor was the only one born at that time. And he was adamant he wasn't going to do it. And I said, okay, let's just go listen to a seminar. So we went to the first seminar, and he wasn't happy with what he heard and all that. But he said, okay, y'all, take a look, start getting documents ready. I'll think about it. So I started getting documents ready. It was under 3 months or maybe 3 months. It was Queensland I chose, and it flooded. And there on the front page of the newspaper was this thing about the flood in Queensland. So in Marcel's mind, that was like the whole of Queensland. Meantime, it's not like that as we know. It's certain parts. So he says, no, I'm not leaving South Africa to go get involved in floods. He says, you're not going to pursue it anymore, just leave it. So I left it. He says, don't talk to me about it anymore. Then I met a friend of mine, Ansi. So Ansi's living now in Adelaide, South Australia. I met at the church, and she said to me, Ursula, have you ever thought, because they were going to Australia, they were going to Adelaide, and they had their stuff underway. She had sent the papers in and was waiting for her permanent residency to come through. And she says, have you ever thought of going to Australia? I said, oh my gosh. I said, yes. I said, but then this flood happened. I told her the story. So she says, don't worry. She says, I will speak to Marcel. So for the last 6 months that they were there, she would invite us, because we stayed like not even 5 minutes from each other. No, I'm lying, 7 minutes from each other. So 3 times a week, there we would be going to her place for coffee. And she would be speaking to Marcel. And within 3 months, 2 months or so of her talking to him, then he said, okay, you can start the paperwork again. So then I knew it was her influence. I didn't mind that, so I started the paperwork, and then she left after 6 months. They left to go to Adelaide. And then I said to my husband, let's go to another seminar, just to get him going and motivated and a whole lot. So we went to another seminar. So it was still uncertain in the whole lot. Then it was, don't continue. But then I just ignored them and just kept quiet and just carried on doing the paperwork and the whole lot. But where other people did this like in a month or something, I did my own through the www.gov.
emi.gov.au.
Immigration, emi.gov.au. So I did my own paperwork. And because I was running a business with my husband, it was difficult for me to just sit down and do just that. I was like, my kids were still, Trevor was still small, Xavier was born. So he was a baby. So I was got the baby, you know what I mean? So it took a while before I got all the paperwork together. And I did it though. So I handed his paperwork in to get reviewed, and then they accepted it and said he would be qualified to do his trade through the TRA. In those days, it was only $300. Today, it's like nearly $3,000.
Incredible.
I feel sorry for the people doing that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it is what it is. And assessors are expensive, as we know here in Australia. So I get it. So I did that, and I said to him, okay, I'm going to do the resident. He says, I want full residency. I'm not coming on a 457, because in those days it was a 457 for a working visa. He says, I'm not coming on a 457 because I'm going to be 45 by the time I get there. So I said, okay. So in 2007, I had the paperwork was like this thick. So I got the paperwork ready and everything. And I said, okay, can I send it through to the immigration department? He says, no. So you can, if you recall, okay, I don't know if I said, but from 2005, I started doing it again, the paperwork. So that by 2007, okay, everything was ready towards it was October, September, October. And then he said to me, no, I want to go do a look and see. So I got the tickets and we went with the kids. So now I didn't know where I was going to go, because he said not Queensland. So I opened a map on my mom-in-law's place. I'll never forget it. I took a pen, and because I didn't know Australia, and I took a pen, shut my eyes, and I hit Perth. And I said, okay, we're going to Perth. And then I bought the tickets a week later for Perth. So we got to Perth. And then we travelled. We hired a car. We travelled all the way down to Esperance. So I went to see friends in Albany that were also from the church that had left probably about, I think, a year before me. I could be lying, but I think a year before me. So we went to go see them for about a week, and we travelled all the way to Esperance. But it was very difficult at that time with a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. So I just said to him, no, because we were on our way to Adelaide, we're going to drive there. And then I said, no.
Gosh,
forget it. Let's
just go back to there.
And enjoy ourselves.
Esperance itself is like a 10-hour drive.
That is correct.
Yeah. Wow.
So I just said no. I said, just let's let it go. So we went back to Perth, and then we just had a good time. And then when we landed back, because I said 6 weeks here, when we landed back in South Africa, about 3 days later, then he says, okay, you can post the permanent residency off. So I sent it to the immigration department. 1 year to the day that I had sent it, it came through.
Wow.
And then they gave you like 3 months to activate the visa. Okay, so then we were running around in the whole lot. So we came here with just 4 suitcases.
And Marcel was happy by this time that he saw Australia. And
he wasn't really, he was like that. So his first 2 years was not easy over here, coming from being a business owner to now working for a boss was not easy for Marcel. It was not an easy transition. Now he's fine. But in the beginning was very, very challenging. So the first year I cried, but I was not going back. I regretted, well, not regretted, but I was like do you know what I mean? On the fence. Yeah. And because now, I mean, we don't own our own business. We work in
new country, you don't know anybody.
Everything. I mean, nobody. So the first year, hardly, I met some people, but it was hard to make friends. Okay, that's what I found. Maybe other people are different to me. I don't know, but that was me. Those that found things like that, I'm very happy for them, but that never happened for me. And so the first year was challenging, and the second year got better. And in my time when I first got to South Africa, I thought it was easy to get a job for myself. Okay, It was not that easy at that time in 2008 because we're still going through the global financial crisis. I think it was then, I can't remember.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
But it was hard for me to find a job. And then in the end, I thought, no, I'll do anything. So I went and I worked at Woolworths, at Coburn Shopping Centre, because I lived in Success. And I met beautiful people over there that were work colleagues. And it was becoming easier. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Just a little bit easier and the whole lot. So I did that the first 7 months.
Which is a great job because you can do that after hours. I assumed you were doing the packing.
I was packing. I was a night full, packing the shelves, and then I was studying the taxes because I went to go work for income tax professionals at the same time as working at Woolies, and I was doing my Cert 4 in training and assessing. So I was doing two things and working a whole lot. And then in 2011 is when I started working. There was other jobs that I did. So I worked at a Moana Living from income tax professionals. And then I went to go to Curtin University through a friend of mine, Anime, who you know as well.
Yes, lovely, lovely person.
I enjoyed Curtin. She's amazing. She's amazing. I love her.
She's gorgeous. And as she did, almost like you stayed with Curtin University for years and years and years. You moved around because they loved you so much and they wouldn't let you go. So they used you in every department they could. I think the last time you were in the graduate business school, is that right?
No, now when I'd spoken to you, yes, but from there I'd gone to Faculty of Humanities and I worked for the learning and teaching area, and I was like a digital advisor, and would go to the schools and train up the teaching support and train the academics in the Blackboard, because they use Blackboard and other systems that Curtin used. I loved that job. I loved it. Then from there, I went to go work for the Faculty of Business and Law. And the same thing there, training academics, training the teaching support staff and building courses in Blackboard itself. And then from there, I left Curtin, and then they called me back and they asked me to come help. They were implementing, what was it? I'll tell you now, Master of Engineering. So they were implementing new courses where the industry was involved in building these courses, which is fantastic, because then you'll have students that are doing work integrated learning, do you know what I mean, for the different partnerships that Curtin had. And that's excellent to me, that's excellent. But anyway, I built courses for them for Kalgoorlie because I worked for Was and Mines. So I was there as a learning engagement technologist until the end of June 2019. Just hold on, let me just think, last year, 2020, sorry.
That's right. I keep on getting the years wrong all the time. It must be COVID's fault. So
thank COVID, thank you.
I tell you, there's COVID. Ursula, you were such a great asset to the university as well. So it goes both ways. And Ursula, it's beautiful hearing your story and how you've managed to find your feet and become such an integral part or a contributing member,
I say, of the Australian.
That's correct. That's correct.
You're sharing with us a little bit about your social life. I know in Newman,
you obviously from time you were in Perth, because you're a social butterfly. You've got such a beautiful, bubbly personality, and people are just always attracted to you. Share with me, you mentioned originally about struggling to find friends or not knowing anybody. How did you do that transition? What sort of gave you that entry? Was that starting to work at Woolworths, where you then met people through work, or how did that work for you?
So I met some people like Anime through Woolworths that we still continue with our friendship today. We don't talk as often as we used to because she's somewhere else now in Queensland, somewhere out in one of the remote areas and doing exceptionally well. But there's other friends that I've met through Curtin, that I'm still friends with. So I nurture those relationships. And then I've got a sisterhood of friends in Perth, that I hold dear and that I contact at least once a week. So I don't want to embarrass them, but one of them is Natanya from Hair by Nats. She's amazing. I love her. And sorry, you said not to mention companies. I'm so sorry. I didn't.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I was just wondering.
Sorry.
No, that's not a problem at all. So you met people like herself, Natanya, was that just through
Yes.
other people, or was it through church, or how did you find friends originally?
You're going to laugh. So how I met Nance, one day Marcel and I, as you know, Marcel's Afrikaans, okay, my surname is Smit. So we're walking at the beach there by Coogee.
Wait, I have to interrupt
people
you.
Speaking Afrikaans, sure.
I just have to tell our viewers about how incredibly good he plays the, what's that in English? I can't remember the word now.
I'll tell you now, he plays the guitar and his dad plays the accordion.
Concertina. I think it's an accordion. Concertina is Afrikaans. I can't remember the English. Oh, accordion. Beautiful. Sorry. Okay, sorry, I was really rude. You were busy telling us.
So he plays saki saki. That's what you're trying to say. He plays saki
absolutely. Boere musiek.
Dis reg.
That's my heart.
Yes, yes. Did you know his dad passed last year, September?
No, I didn't.
He was 82, I think. Shame. So he went and sat down and asked his wife to make him coffee. And when she came back, his eyes were closed and he passed peacefully in his sleep. So very sad.
Beautiful, beautiful man. I had the privilege of meeting him.
Yeah. Anyway, so for more.
So you met Natanya.
He played saki saki. So I met Natanya through walking on the beach, and I met this other friend of mine, Adele. And she wasn't a friend at that time, but she was speaking Afrikaans. So my husband started talking to her. And the next thing I know, we went to a few of the parties. Then there was a time when we hadn't seen each other for a while. And then we just resumed our friendship again after, I don't know how long it was, but we resumed our friendship and we've been close, very close ever since. So it's those, do you know what I mean? It can be anywhere where you meet someone. And most of my friends, I don't know why, but most of my friends are Afrikaans. I don't know why it is, but it is like that. And then I'm friends with everybody else, if that makes sense. But the girls, my sisterhood that I'm with, there's 5 of them, Afrikaans, and then there's some of them that are from other countries as well, and from Australia. Do you know what I mean?
Good. So you've got a widespread circle of friends, which is good because we're now in Australia, and so 100%. It helps a lot if you manage to become a part of everybody else. That's right, being diverse. Ursula, what is the best thing for you about living in Australia? If you have to single out one thing, what would you say?
Do you know what I call Australia? The land of milk and honey. I said, I have seen the promised land, like in the Bible, the land of Canaan. We live in the land of Canaan, the land of milk and honey. Why do I say that? So the best thing about Australia is the opportunities that it gives you. Because there I was in 2008, before the 26th of September. So let's say the 24th of September, because that's when I left our business, okay, as a business owner. And here I came. And for some of us, we have to start from the bottom. So when I say from the bottom, I'm just saying like jobs that are not meaningless, but do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't know the word that I'm trying to find. So I don't want to discredit anybody, whether they're cleaners or whatever. So I just took any job that was available because I was grateful for the opportunity and I grew from there. So what I love about Australia is that you can become anything that you imagine yourself to become. You can close your eyes and think of something that you want to become, and you can get there eventually as long as you stay
100%. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what I believe in. Because there I went from being a business owner to doing all these different jobs to where I am now. And where I am now, and I know it sounds like I'm bragging, but I'm trying to just state a fact here, okay? Because where I am now, I'm highly skilled. I've got special skills. And those skills are what gets me through different doors, okay?
Absolutely, because not
has.
Working at BHP is a very, it's a kind of role that most people aspire to have because it's a great company to work for.
Yes.
And there you were, or here you are, being able to grab this kind of position, which would be something that a lot of other people would love to have. And because you have built up all these skills and now you have this amazing situation where you've got your husband near you, your kids near you, and you're earning a decent living, I would assume. You don't have to say how much, but I know doing FIFO kind of roles, it's usually financially supports a family really well.
100%.
Mm.
And so for me, what I love about Australia, like I said to you, is the opportunities that comes to you. And sometimes the opportunity comes packaged very differently, like a diamond. How does a diamond get formed? Under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see the diamond, it's ugly in its state, okay, until you polish it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to apply pressure and whatever else in order to make it look the way it does. The same thing for any of us. So grab whatever opportunity that comes your way. That's for me what I would say to someone. Grab the opportunity, no matter what it looks like, because you never know where you end up at the end. And over here, I'm still at my beginning of BHP journey. There's still many goals ahead. Do you know what I mean? That I want to achieve, and I will get
How
there. I believe that.
exciting! I'm so glad for you, Ursula. What a beautiful
Story.
Thank you.
I'm just so stoked, and thank you so much for sharing all of that with us.
People watching this would go, oh, wow, what a beautiful story. If Ursula could do it, then I can also try and do it. You know, it just makes it more real for people, and to actually hear how other South Africans have walked the path. And it's not always a straight road, you know, sometimes you got to go this side, a little bit that side.
Oh, yes. Yes.
What
and you're
would
right
be
about that. I mean, I've had positions where, sorry.
No, you go.
Okay. I've had positions where it's been like up there, and then I drop down 2 levels. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So you've got to go back before you can go ahead. So that's happened to me a lot. It's not as though, every job was a dream job. No. I had to do
that
jobs
diamond
that were
is
not
now
pretty.
shining so much more.
Oh, yes. And going to shine even more. I don't know what's the best. I don't know what's the next gem after diamond, but anyway, whatever it is, that's what I'm on.
A Kimberley diamond. I don't know. An Argyle diamond. We're not in Australia.
It's an Argyle diamond. It's an Argyle.
Last thing I got to ask you, Ursula, if you have any piece of advice for other South Africans who are considering coming to Australia, what would you say to them?
First thing I would say. So I believe there's no such thing as regrets. Okay. We have to take that word sometimes and turn it around. Okay. Just transform that language. There's no regrets. There's only experiences that you learn. It's learnings in life. Okay. So this is what I will say to any South African that wants to come here. Number 1, make sure you've got all your legal documents. Because I've seen people that come here without certain documents. Okay. And they're battling to get those documents from South Africa. Very difficult. So make sure you speak to others that are in the country already and ask them, and not one person, ask a few people and ask them what were the documents that they got from Home Affairs in order for them to get their permanent residency. Because where they get locked up, when I say locked up, I don't mean locked up. I'm saying where there's like a dead end, a roadblock, is when they're applying for their permanent residency. And then they're pulling their hair out, and some of them have to fly back to South Africa. It's a nightmare. So get all your ducks in a row before you move to Australia. Other thing I would say as well is make sure that your post goes to some household in South Africa, or it can go electronically, but there must still be an address. So like your sister or your parents, let your post go there. Why do I say that? When it comes to things like you've got like retirement annuities, let's just say, so you've got certain documents that are coming, as long as they see that it's going to an address, it helps you in your favor. How do I know that? Because right now we are battling with regards to Marcel's retirement annuity in South Africa, okay, because of things like that. So now we need to open up a South African account. So what do I say to people now that are wanting to move? Keep a South African account open for your retirement annuity when it matures. I think that's the right word. Yeah. Because we get super over here, so I get confused. But anyway, when it matures, so make sure you've got a banking account. I could be wrong. I could be so wrong. But those are the things. Because it's not just me. There's 2 other friends also battling to get their retirement annuities. Okay, so that's just my take. Don't burn your bridges.
That's very important. So that's if you have retirement annuities in South Africa, obviously, if you leave. If you don't, if you haven't started with those kinds of things, by the time that you come to Australia, then you don't have to worry about that.
100%.
But it is difficult with, especially tax-wise and all those kinds of things, that it makes it really hard. South Africa don't like the idea if you take the money out of South Africa
I
either.
know.
So
That's also very true. And the other thing I can say to someone is when they do come, they must come with a clear intention, knowing that the road is not easy. No road is easy in life, okay? That's just a fairy tale in my mind, because you've got to build up negative experiences to learn from them to grow into wisdom, okay? So the road is never an easy path. It's not flat and it's rocky and the whole lot. So I would say to people as well, when you come here, is to not be looking back, okay? To just stay focused and one step after the other and just move forward and not looking back, because then you're living in the past. Do you know what I mean? And we all have that. We all have where our hearts beat to the African drum. Do you know what I mean? We all get emotional, us that are living here, thinking about our loved ones in South Africa, thinking about the rugby and the bra place, and do you know what I mean? And all of that. So we all have that longing for a South African sunshine, longing to smell rain. Do you know the smell of rain in South Africa is very different to the smell of rain over here. Do you know what I mean? So embrace those memories, but do your best not to look back and just look forward, and not to be too proud, not to take any job, because believe me, your final destination, where you are now, is not your final destination. And I'm not talking about death, okay? Your final destination, where you are now, is just temporary, and to build skills and to build experiences, okay? Because there are still better things to come. There are better things to come. That's what you've got to believe and remain positive.
Thank you so much. Beautiful, wise words. You see, guys, you got to listen to people like Ursula. She's done it before you. She knows what she's talking about. And thank you once again for sharing your story with us. We really do appreciate it. And if we can catch up with you again in another year or two or so time, just to hear how you're going, that would be great. Thanks, Ursula.
No problem. Thank you so much. I love you.
Have a blast in Newman. You too.
Thank you so
much. And
much.
if you're back in Perth, let's grab a coffee or a wine.
Yes, we will. Oh, yes, I will do that. Not a problem.
Thanks, darling. Take care. Bye.
All right. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you had fun, please remember to hit that subscribe button, and then it'll make sure that you never miss a thing. I'll see you same time and same place next week. Bye for now.